Well, greetings, humans. How's it going? Is my audio working? Actually, I feel like I should ask that because when I kicked off the stream, I did not hear the little countdown thing, and I usually hear that in the stream. So, uh, anyhow, here we are. My name is Guy Royse. I'm a developer advocate here at Redis, and I'm sure if I'm talking and my audio is not working, someone very soon is going to say, "Hey, Guy, your audio is not working. I'll see you in chat." So we're going to go ahead and plow on through and assume that everything is just working spiffily. I've got chat up and visible, so if you leave me a message, thank you, Mohammed. Very appreciated. Audio is working. Probably just not these guys here, so be that as it may. So, what are we doing today? So, if you've been watching the stream, I've done two episodes, I believe, so far. Yeah, this is episode 3 of this effort to build a semantic search to find Bigfoot. And so I'm using JavaScript to do this. I'm using Redis Vector Search. I'm using a big pile of Bigfoot sightings that I've gotten off of data.world from, which is a contribution from the wonderful man, Tim Renner, who screen scraped all this data and put it out there for us to play with. I'm using LLMs and embedding models that I've gotten off of Hugging Face. And I'm running them all locally. I'm not using any APIs. So that's the thing I'm building. Part of the point of this is to show two things, really. One, that you don't have to build these things in Python. You can use JavaScript. And two, you don't have to use existing APIs. Although, honestly, for some of the things I'm doing here, I would probably use, I would be tempted to use things like ChatGPT's, OpenAI's APIs and stuff like that for, depends what you're doing, right? But if, as a developer, you want to learn about these things and poke around, and performance isn't the most important thing, where you're just trying to learn, then this is a good place to start. So I'm building an example application that does semantic search using local models. Now that means that it's some of my inferencing takes a little while, but that's okay. It's aggravated by the fact that my MacBook is actually it's an old Intel MacBook, and it performs great. It's wonderful, but I don't have an NVIDIA GPU on my machine. I have, well, let's take a look at what I have. I thought it'd be fun to look at my cores. And so here's my CPUs, and here's my CPUs as sort of like I'm at the club, right? Oh, I'm not showing my screen. Let me share my screen. There we go. Now we can see my screen, see what I'm talking about. So here are my CPUs, right? I've got 8 cores. It's showing 16 cores. I think each core, I don't know. I'm not really a hardware guy necessarily, but and then here we have those 8 cores looking kind of like the faders on or the levels on a graphic equalizer. And then over here you can see my GPU history, and I've got the Intel UHD graphics, which is the built-in thing, which I don't think I'm really using for much of anything. And I've got an AMD graphics card, which is a fantastic graphics card. It's doing all the things I needed to do, except working with Node Llama CPP and their friends. So, but I brought this up. I left this here so that when we go ahead and do run some of these models, you can see the CPU spike very clearly. So I'm going to turn off this GPU history because it's not going to see anything. And I'm going to show you what I've been working on. So I spent some time yesterday when I wasn't streaming. And one of the things that I've built here, I built a little API. So there's a save command, and there is an endpoint, and there is a search endpoint. And so I've got these in API, in my API project here. So you got a search and a load. And what search does is you pass in some text in the body and a count as JSON, and then it calls a search method, which does that. What the load does is it takes the body as JSON and just saves it as a Bigfoot sighting and returns a response. And behind the scenes, that load is taking the Bigfoot sighting, which includes things like the state and the county it occurred in. It takes things like the temperature, the latitude and longitude, but also it has stuff like the eyewitness account of the Bigfoot sighting. The observed is what it's called. That story where I said, I saw Bigfoot in the woods and he was big and scary. And it takes that account and runs it through a summarization model. And so the summarization model is using Node Llama CPP with LangChain. and it summarizes it so it's down to around 500 words. And then we use those 500 words to create the embedding, because the embedding model that I'm using only accepts 512 tokens. So the embeddings are very fast to create. The summarization has been slow. And so the big thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to create a loader that would basically call this load save endpoint here for us automatically, so we could just load up a bunch of data. And so I did that yesterday off camera, and I'm going to show you the code that I wrote. Hey, it's Luke. How you doing, Luke? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in forever and a day. It's fantastic to see you. And you're watching from X, currently known as Twitter. Or did I say that backwards? Twitter, currently known as X. That's what I want to say. And so yeah, it's fantastic to see you. So yeah, let me show you what I've written so far. So we've got this API. Behind the scenes, I've got this embed.js, which does stuff. I don't want to go into that yet, partly because I've gone into it in previous streams, but also because I want to show my loader code off the road. So what the loader does is it brings in several imports here. So we got Axios for HTTP, because it's just easier than using the native commands in Node.js. We've got a tool called command line args, whose purpose in life is to allow you to parse command line args in a meaningful way. I'm using that right here on line 8 through 12. We've got a file system to read the file that we want to load all these Bigfoot sightings from. We've got Natural. Natural is a natural language toolkit kind of tool for JavaScript. And it'll allow me to tokenize it and get a count of the tokens. So one of the things I needed to know as I was working on this was how many tokens did I need? What was my context size that I needed for my summarization model? And so I needed to tokenize all the Bigfoot sightings and say which is the biggest one, and then round up to the nearest order of 2 magnitude, or multiple squared thing. So I found out that number was 8K, so I set it to 8K. But I left it in here because it's kind of interesting. And read line, which lets me read my file line by line. The file itself is a JSON-L file. Each line is a JSON document that contains a Bigfoot sighting and all of the associated data. So parse our command lines, you pass in the file name. You can give it a starting ID where it will tear through this file and won't actually do any adding until it finds this starting ID. This lets you stop and start the process, because this is actually kind of slow running on my my Piddly CPU. I found on average that each of these takes about a minute. I have 4,586 of them, which means this is going to take about 40 hours to load all the data. Certainly not going to happen on stream. So, and so those are the command line args. I set up my tokenizer. I set up my read line to read that file. And then I set up some variables I'm going to work with. And oh, there's more chat messages in chat. I'm doing great. Thank you very much for asking, Luke. That sounds fantastic. Literally deving with Redis as we speak to build distributed peripherals, NFC and barcode scanners. Sounds like a fantastic. Honestly, I'm in favor of any application of Redis being used, in your company or in your projects. So use Redis early and use it often. So set up a counter and flag. So I got a counter. I just want to count how many records I get so that I can look when it's done and say, yes, I went through all 4,586 Bigfoot sightings. This is my place where I stored the max tokens, which I mentioned earlier I needed. Here's where we pull out the starting ID. And then if you have a starting ID, then process needs to be set to false until we hit that starting ID. So this is just this is a flag. This is not the most brilliant programming in the world. It's not something I'm terribly proud of. There's probably more clever ways to do this, but this works, and it's kind of intended to be a rough and ready tool to load these things in. So then we use a 408 on the read line thing. So what 408 does is that read line has here, I'll show you here. Has a symbol, an async iterator on it that's a symbol. And so if you give a 408 something that has one of those, then it will go through and call it each time to get the next batch of data, and we'll do that asynchronously. So this is a nice, tidy, asynchronous for loop. Then I increment my counter. I parse that line of JSON, I want to go ahead and log some stuff to say, hey, we're doing stuff, because this is the kind of thing you kind of really do want logging on. And then here I tokenize that string, which is sometimes not there. And then if the tokens are bigger than the last one, then I save it off to max tokens, and I log that tokenization information. And then if the citing doesn't match, this is my using a little flag there. And so if we're not processing it, we skip it. And then I do a post and log that post. And then I get a little timing when you're done. And when it's all done and done and done, then down here we log, hey, we're all done and done and done. So we got questions. Michelle, I think that's what about using Redis to transfer data from a mobile app to a web page? Yes or no? If you've got data actually in the mobile app, like like on your iPhone, Redis isn't something that you typically would run on like an iPhone or an Android device. So if you were taking that data from the mobile app and need to store it somewhere on a backend, then Redis would be perfectly suitable for that. And we got Coders of Lo-Fi Station. Hi, how's it going? And Coders of Lo-Fi Station has a doubt. So, okay. Hit me with it, and maybe I can address that. Maybe not. We'll find out. So, yeah, so here's my loader, and I'm going to go ahead and run it just to show you that it works. So let's go ahead and get it running here. Now, before I do that, I need to kick off the API. So we'll do npm start here. And there is the API. It's just kind of sitting there. Server's listening on port 3000. And now if I hit, let's see if I've got any in my history here, that would be great. Oh, I don't. No. So npm start -- file / I need to look at the file path. It is, we'll just copy relative path, command V, / data / BFR reports. That sounds good. And then -- was it starting ID? What I called it? Let's look at my code here. I don't even remember what I wrote. And I've closed the loader. ID, starting ID. And then I wrote down the one I last started with. So it's 1341. I've got here on my very advanced storage mechanism here for information. It stores bytes of data. So starting ID is 1341. If you enter, then this should start doing stuff. Lord will and the river don't rise. Okay, so it skipped a bunch, and then it instantiated a model, and now it is doing one. So it's doing Bigfoot sighting 1341, and yeah, we'll let that do its thing. So Bill, hey Bill, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a while, have I? Hope you're doing well. So greetings. Thanks for watching the stream. So I'm going to kind of just letting this go. So you can see here so far we've got, it read Bigfoot sighting 1334. That sighting has 331 tokens. The biggest number of tokens so far is 2,679. And so it's just letting this go. Now, while this is running, I'm going to go ahead and show some other changes I've made. So I learned a lot in building this. What I learned was I was seeing this odd intermittent error the last time I streamed, where occasionally the model would just throw an exception for no good reason. And I don't know that I figured out what caused the problem, but I figured out a way to fix it. I think this is actually probably a bug in Node Llama CPP, or I'm misusing it and I didn't realize it. So what would happen is occasionally the model, I would instantiate the model and I just use it repeatedly, and occasionally it would crash. And if I tried using it again, it would just keep crashing. And so I don't know if there's like a memory leak or something where it would just keep crashing. But if I created a new model, if I shut down the loader and started from that point, it would keep working. And so I latched onto the idea of, well, maybe if I throw the model away whenever I get an exception and recreate it, that would fix the problem. And it did. However, my code is now ugly. So, okay, so this one finished. In Mississippi, a child of memory involving unidentified creature sighting, et cetera, et cetera. So that one took 1 minute, 31 seconds on 128 milliseconds. So that took about 90 seconds. And now it's reading the next one. And I'm just going to let this run while we look at code and just get a few more in there. I will show you here that I did run some of these already. We just did 1341. If we go here, we can see that. Let's look for 1341. Now, this is going to be Bigfoot sighting 1341. There we go. If we click on it, we can see that we've got all the data. There's a precipitation, all the weather data, humidity. There is the observed. This is the story. We've got the summary, which is the generated summary of that account by the Mistral LLM that we're using. And we can see if we look in here as well, we've got the embedding, which is a bunch of binary data. So looks like it worked. I'm pretty happy with that. And so, yeah, so it's working. So this is just chugging along. We can let this run in the background while I talk about the code a bit more. And Mephilich is here, as always. So greetings, Small. I assume you're talking to everyone in chat. I am a mere fumbler, and I fumble on screen for your amusement. And but eventually I figure stuff out, and then people can improve upon that and build awesome software. So that's the goal. So let's go. And here, look at my CPU utilization right here. I just kind of want to show this. You can tell it's like just spiking. And if we look at my window and show my GPU history, it's not really doing anything because it's not using the GPU, which is why it's so slow on my machine. So a lesson of the story is if you want to do it this way, use something with an NVIDIA graphics card. So let's take a look at the code here. So that's the loader. We can close the loader for now. I'm pretty happy with how the loader works. So I wanted to show in the embed here what I had to do. So here's our instructions. So the embed has two main functions: save and search. And so what search does is it'll create a query and use Redis Vector Search to find Bigfoot sightings that have similar text. One of the things that I hope to accomplish in this stream is to change this query right here to replace that star with extra parameters. So I want to like restrict my Bigfoot sightings to all the ones in Ohio before I do the vector search. Or I want to find all the ones where the temperature is above 50 degrees Fahrenheit before I do my Bigfoot search. So that's one of the things I want to add to this. Another thing that I want to add to this is that I have a bug or an error. So by default, when you do a search on Redis Search, it will take the search score from the more prosaic search, the more mundane search, the stuff that is star, and it sorts it by that as opposed to by the vector score. And so I need to add code in here to sort by the vector store. There's a little example of it on our website on redis.io, and I can show you in there. And we'll just copy it from there and make that work. So that's the thing I want to change. So those are things I'd like to add this stream. The other thing is that when I do save, I of course get the key and I set the things in Redis. And then if we haven't observed, there are a few that don't, we're going to summarize it and embed it using the embedding model and the summarization models. And then we're going to save it to Redis and save the embedding to Redis as well. And then we'll just return that we did that. And this is fine. But what's happening, this is a long-running process, right? So we're posting this HTTP document or this JSON document to this API, and then it's not returning for 90 seconds. That is a terrible experience. So what I want to do is I want to instead drop that document on a stream, on an event stream in Redis, consume those events as they come in, and then process them in the background asynchronously because it's such a long-running process. And that means then the loader can tear through it, and then you just need to let your servers, in my case, sit there and run for 40 hours. But so the search thing builds this query here and just returns results. The summarize this embed function working like a champ, no problems. This summarization function, however, I mentioned that when I get an exception thrown, I need to throw away the model and recreate it, so I can't use the same instance again. And so I wrote some fairly hacky code to see if that was actually the problem, and that fairly hacky code is still here. And so I'd like to clean this up. And this is honestly the first thing I'd like to do today is clean up that hacky code. Because what I ended up doing was I created a little inner function that does the summarization by calling chat prompt template from messages, pipe it into the model, and then invoke with the text. And then that's going to return our summarization. And then what I do down here is I try to do that. And if it throws an exception, I catch it, log it, retry, and then call create summarization model, which is what is in the models folder, and pass in true. And so this guy has an optional argument, which I call the cache buster. And so if we look at models.js, you can see I've commented out our old code, and here's create summarization model. And if we have a summarization model and we're not asking to bust the cache, then just return it. Otherwise, create one and return it. And so that's what we're doing here. I think this is okay. I just don't like how I'm calling it in my code. And I may actually do the same thing with the embedding model as well, just for consistency, even though it doesn't really seem to care. So there's some more chat activity. Coders of Lo-Fi Station has some questions about building a cab aggregator app like Uber, and want to know if you can use Redis for that. Methalish has suggested you join the Redis Discord server and ask the question there, which is a great advice, Methalish. And in fact, while we're talking about the Redis Discord server, here is the QR code that will get you to the Redis Discord server if you wish to join it. So just scan that. That'll take you as an invite. That'll invite you to. That's an invite. It's at discord.gg/Redis. But yeah, you can join with that. And I do have a link to the GitHub as well. I'm going to leave the Discord one there for a little while until I feel like taking it down. And Bill agrees with Methalish that this would be a great option for the application, with the disclaimer that he works for Redis. Yeah, I think I concur. So let's leave that up there for a little bit. If you want to join the Discord server, just scan that little QR code, and I'm on there. I answer questions when I can. I had a bunch of video stuff to do today, so I haven't answered any questions today, but I am on there quite a bit, and others on the team are as well. So I've talked about all this code for about 20-ish minutes, and I haven't done any coding yet. So I should probably do something about that. Well, for starters, I'm going to get rid of that. There we go. Because I'm pretty happy with how this works. And that has probably just killed my little background. Yes, it did, because it restarted. That's okay. Where did it stop? I want to write this down so that I can pick this up where I left off. So the last Bigfoot sighting it was working on was 1338. So I just want to write that down using my high-tech pen and paper writing system. That can just sit there. That's fine. We're going to be working on this code, so I really don't want to have this running. But we'll test it again, though, certainly. So you see my CPU has settled down greatly now. So I want to go ahead and say let summarization model equal null. I could just leave that undefined too, and we'll call this the embedding model. And it can equal null. And then we'll create export function, create embedding model. And it is figured out what the heck I'm trying to do here. It recognizes this pattern. There we go. And I don't know that I like the word create. I'm thinking about calling it maybe fetch. Let's call it fetch. But it's not always, technically it's create or fetch, but I think fetch is a better word. I could call it get, but a long time ago, I used to be a Java developer. And so I stopped using get as a verb on words because, in Java, your bean standard uses get and set. And so you have like get foo and you'd have set foo like that. No, that's not what I wanted at all. Then it would magically say, okay, so that really means there's a property on here called .foo. And so I got out of the habit of doing that. And there are getters in JavaScript as well. And so, since it's a keyword, I just tend to avoid it. So I'm going to use fetch summarization model and fetch embedding model. And then my embedder over here, it needs, so that creates the summarization model. So embedding equals, let's go ahead and just say fetch embedding model. We can just call that inline like that because we know it's not going to. It hasn't failed me yet. We'll put it that way. So, and then of course this is going to be fetch summarization model like that, and then we do the same up here. And then up here we need to import those two things instead. And this isn't strictly necessary with the embedding model, but I like that I prefer to have the same metaphor being used, if at all possible. It just, someone looks at the code like, why does one work one way and the other one work the other way? Now that's one less question to ask. There's a whole warm, happy feeling I get when my code is consistent like that. I guess you could say mostly I want to do it because it appeals to my sense of order. Which isn't necessarily the best reason, but it's my stream. I'll do what I want. Don't tell me how to live my life. Cool. So I'm fairly happy with that. Let's go ahead and let's just be a good developer here and go ahead and commit that. Added fetch all the models. There we go. Git push. And one of the reasons I've done this, of course, is because and here's the QR code. I'm going to switch out the QR code. If you want to get the code and play with it yourself, you can go to it's out of GitHub on my GitHub. You can pull this down, play with it yourself, see if you can make it more better. If you've got some helpful input, go ahead and send me a pull request. Might even merge it on stream. Could be very exciting. So I'll leave that little QR code up there for a while. It's hiding my file system, but I don't think that's that essential. So we got embed.js. So the other thing that I want to do is this summarization code here, where the way it fetches the model, it just is, it's hideous. I'm not. I want to think about how I could fix this, because I got a to-do here. This is a hack to get around a bug in the summarization model. What I presume to be a bug. And so here we fetch the summarization model. We try and use it. So we're going to call chat prompt from message pipe invoke, and then that has the potential to throw an error. Would I be happier if I actually just put this in a separate function? The fact I got a function inside here is a little hinky. Maybe if I pull it out and call it try to summarize. Async function, try to summarize. So we got summarize and try to summarize. And then the try to summarize is going to do this. So I'm really just moving this, not like that. Idiot boy. That's a SpongeBob reference out there for you, those if you aren't familiar. I'm kind of, do I want to pass the model in? Yeah, let's do that. Model and the text. We'll just call it the model. We don't have to call it the summarization model at this point. And then we'll say model. Now we have a more focused bit of code here, so we can use simpler names because there's no other model that we that's going to get in the way. So, and then so what we'll do is we'll call try to summarize. We'll pass in the summarization model. Well, actually, we can just call fetch summarization model. And then if we get an error, then we can log the error. And then we can say, I don't know if this is really any better or not. Like that. Let's do at least. It's a little cleaner. I feel better about this code than I do the other code. I realize it's the same thing, but I've broken it apart, and so it's a little easier to read. And yeah, so that's a cache busting one. I'm gonna consolidate these log messages down to error using model, recreating model, and retrying. And then let's log the error as well. So I mean, it's like, do I want to log just the error message, or let's just log the entire message, the entire error? I think that's probably the right way to go. And then it tries again. And I know from experience that if I run into this error, now I'm catching all errors. There could be perfectly valid errors that I should be catching and handling more intelligently, and I'm not. But for what I'm doing, this will work. So let's go ahead and get rid of that space there. Let's see if this works. This says it's running. Let's go ahead and kick this off. And we started at 1338. Let's go ahead and kick it off. Skipped all of them, got to 1338. It's doing stuff. Let's let that run in the background and wait and see if we see an error. Okay, git status, git add dot, git commit -m, refactored summarization retries, retry logic, git push. I'm very confident this is going to work. I'm going to push up this source control, even though I haven't actually tested it. I'm actually being a bad developer because I don't have any unit tests, and I know I have friends that would call me a bad person for this, but here we are. So, cool. I think I'm happy. This isn't too long of a file. I don't have to scroll a ton to use it. This is okay. Okay, we're going to let that run. I kind of want to see it process one successfully before I say it's good. Just to be extra paranoid safe, because as soon as I go in here and change one of these files and save it, Daemon is going to restart the server, and then it'll kill my loading process. And so I think I'm going to stall for 30 seconds or so and wait and see if it gets in there. And eventually, and if it does, then I'll call it good enough, and then we'll. There we go. So that worked. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and stop the loader. And actually, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to go into this guy right here, kill that, and I'm going to go into the package.json for the API. And instead of using nodemon, I'm just going to say node app.js. That way I can control when it stops rather than whenever I save a file, and then I can do it a little more deliberately because I have this sort of habitual command S that I hit all the time. And so then over here, I can do this, and that will run. And then over here, I can do this, and we are on 8.999. Enter. And then that can sit there and add things in the background while I'm doing other work. So I'll have my computer multitask for me. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add sorting by vector score. This is a bug in the code, and so in my code, and so I feel like we need to fix this. And I've got Redis IO up already. Let's just look for vector interactive data in Redis vectors, and then there it is. So I need to add a sort by vector score. That's the thing I need to add. So this is this site here has a bunch of simple examples. I'm pretty much just doing this one here, but I needed to add the sort by so that it sorts by the vector score as opposed to the page score. So we got dialect, we got params, we got return, and so we got sorts by vec score. That should then, when I do a search for, say, give me the top 5 Bigfoot sightings in this category, it'll sort them in an appropriate manner, the most similar to the least similar. That wasn't hard. Well, that was easy. Push the button, right? And so I should probably, I'm going to give up on the idea that I'm actually going to get any of these in the amount of time I would do any of these refactoring. So let's go ahead and go back to here to the package JSON and restore that to the way it was. And then we'll run our API. And we should have, we've got 179 Bigfoot sightings in here. So we've got some stuff to search for. So how about we try some searching here? So I've been using curl commands to do this in the past. I'm going to continue to do that. Our current command is expecting to get in our app.js here. We've got, I'm going to go ahead and close that document. That'll work. It takes a query, which is just the thing that you type, and a count, which is the number of things you want, or 1 for default if you don't specify it. So we should be able to go into here, and let's move this a little to the right so that we get a, come on. Got to hit it just in the right. There we go. So I'm going to do curl -x post http:// localhost 3000, localhost 3000 / search search, if I could spell search correctly, -h, and then this is the application JSON type, which I actually put this. I asked ChatGPT a couple days ago the exact command here. I keep going back and looking at it. So let's see, where's it at? It's under Express Starter Code. Yes, I have a Metal D&D themed campaign that I asked ChatGPT for help with. So we'll go to curl. There it is, content type. Because I got to add that header, and I can never remember exactly how to do it. That all needs to be in quotey quotes. Control N, -D, and then my query. My query is that needs to be in quotes. And oh, is it embedding score? Well, thank you very much, G the best. That is much appreciated. I just thought that was like a magic word in the in the docs there. So, but because I'm searching on vec here, that's _vec score. So it's actually creates the name that way. That makes sense. And because mine's called embedding, then it needs to be embedding store, according to G the best. So, person with the best name. Cool. Well, I can do that. I would have found that out very quickly, I suspect. Okay, so we're in here. And so that needs to be, because my field is called embedding. There we go. Okay, now it's correct. And okay, yeah. Okay, so now I can pass in here query, colon. What would be, I don't know what the data looks like anymore. So I'm going to go for, I always like near a body of water, because it doesn't say body of water usually in the accounts. It usually says creek or river or stream or lake or something. So this is a good example showing the semantic nature of the search. And let's do a count of 5. And we'll pipe this into JQ so we can read it. Are we ready to see if this works? Do we think it's going to work? Place your bets, everyone. That is a bad sign. Embedding model is not defined because because I refactored it. Because it's not embedding model now, it's fetch embedding model. That's because I changed the code. And let's go ahead and do a -s there. And hit enter again. And there, now it works. I know, right? Womp womp. So I got 5 results here. I believe I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, got 5 results. So these are, I'm only returning some of the fields. I'm not returning everything. I'm tempted to return the summary. So night fishing, that would certainly be near a body of water. Fishing, salmon fishing, splashing noises coming from the lake. So just salmon, just to show you what I'm seeing here. Salmon fishing, right? Fishing on Spring River in Mount Vernon. That is in Lawrence, Mississippi. There's a Mount Vernon, Ohio as well, where I live. Either side of a fishing dock in Williamsville, Missouri. This was loud splashing noises coming from the lake. That one matches it. Rocks thrown in a fishing area. Okay, so this gave us these are all near bodies of water. There's probably more near bodies of water. Let's do near a body of water at night and see what we get. My wife and I were night fishing, so night fishing came up first. Makes sense, right? Large figure crossing river in moonlight. This is watching a movie in his brother's barn. It was doesn't mention night here specifically. There's things that suggest it's night. Like if you're using a movie projector in a barn, it's probably at night. But I don't think it probably is that smart. And campsite intrusion near river. Let's see. I was awakened, so that happened at night. And so it's working. I think this is pretty good. Full moon. This one does not have, doesn't look like there's any reference to water in here. This is just at night. So the one that has the night aspect but doesn't have the water aspect is last in the list. So I would say that that sorting is working. Thank you, G the best. You're the best. Cool. Well, that was just knocking these out, aren't I? Let's go ahead and get rid of that. We don't need that to do there anymore. Cool. So well, I have my little advanced list here. Let me see what we've done so far. I've gone over the loader. I've talked about the intermittent error and refactored that ugly code. I added the sorting. The other thing that we can add here is I kind of want to add more search options. So I'd like to do a filtered vector search. where I can filter out some things in advance before we apply the vector search against them. And so that means I need to build this query up to be a little bit smarter. It means that star needs to be replaced with something else. And part of that's going to be figuring out how the heck I want to have pass in these arguments here, because I'm passing a search, I'm giving you a query and a count. That query is just text. I'm thinking, maybe we could just do some extra parameters that we want to search on, and then we could like walk over them and then search on them. But the problem is that it's a little smarter than that. And I'm actually really sincerely not exactly sure how I want to solve this problem, but we'll figure it out. So right now in my index that I created, we've got the ID as a tag, and so we can find it by ID. I don't think that's useful because there's only ever an ID is going to match only one thing, and so the vector search wouldn't have anything to do. So that's not that interesting. The title is a text field. We could say, well, give me all the ones that happen at night and has a word in the title. Don't want to do that. Observed, it's word in the account. Semantic search is kind of covering these already. We could go with classification, where it's only class A or class B sightings. County and state seem like good candidates. So I think maybe we could filter by state. So, and we can also do latitude and longitude nearby. We could add other fields here as well. But I think just as a starter, I'm going to do state, U.S. state, because I think that's an easy candidate, right? So how do we want to do that? So we've got our app.js. How do we want to pass that in? I guess probably it's just going to be extra arguments. I mean, like, that part's easy, right? Like we can do const state equals request.body.state. And then that's going to be a string. And if it's not there, then it's going to be undefined. And if it's undefined, then we don't use it, right? Or we could do something a little more general and say request.body.params or filter maybe, and just pass those in as an optional thing. If it's not there, then it's that. Let's try that approach. Let's put the logic for figuring out what param it will accept inside of the search thing, maybe, because it's going to have more context as to whether those are strings or whatever. And then we can just teach it how to do things as we expand it. So in here, it's got query, it's got params, it's got a count. And if we use that as is, it should still just work. And it does. And I found the same ones, so that's good too. So what we can do is, I think we can kind of break this up into two strings. The vector search bit of the string and the this bit, because technically this can go in parentheses like that. That's the work. Can I just say how fast that is? I mean, yeah, creating these embeddings are slow on my machine, but once these things are in Redis as embeddings, I just, it's kind of a without thinking about it sort of thing. So now, admittedly, I only have 180 items in my in there as well, but still, still fairly impressive. So I think what we want to do is add our embeddings. Bytes. This is the query. Let's build a query separately. So we got the query. We'll have the const search query, which is right now going to be equal to just that. And then we'll have our vector query, which is going to be equal to the rest of it. And then our Redis query is going to be equal to that. So that's the idea. And so, I mean, again, I've just refactored this to do the same thing it's been doing all along. If I run it again, just to check my sanity, that's in Stone, Missouri. What a cool place name. Where are you from? Stone. And now it becomes just a matter of building up this field. And so I'm going to say if params. Yeah. See, this is one of those things where, wow. So if there's a state param, what I want to do, and this is totally, this is probably very wrong, then I basically need to somehow put into the search query that. Oh, wow. It figured out, it knows the Redis search syntax. So this is a tag search, and so you do key name like that, and then you put it in curly braces, so it knows the Redis search. Yeah, birthplace of Stone Phillips. That's right, and so where the Masons are from originally. Actually, they're probably from Mason, Missouri, which I wouldn't be surprised if is a place either. But so I'm kind of thinking maybe. Like maybe do this const search query equals empty string. It would be a const, it would be a let because I'm going to modify it. Empty string. And then I say if there's a state parameter. So if params is always going to be defined because of how we pass it in. It just could be an empty object. So if we do params.state, that could be undefined. If it's not undefined, in other words, if it's right, has a value. In fact, let's, we'll go if it's not undefined. We could do the bang bang operator, and now it's a Boolean. But you know, I'm going to go with not equals undefined because it could have other values that would be. Are there any valid values that would be valid there that would work? Like empty string isn't a valid search argument, and if you do something like null, that's not correct. That would just throw an error. So 0 is a number. So I'm thinking all the things that are falsy. We'll just go with that. That's fine. Then what we can do is we append that to the search query. And then when it comes to, then we can say if search query is empty, there a dot empty. Remember, there is empty in JavaScript or not. Equals 0, then search query is going to equal that. And that should work just fine. And then search query needs to be in parentheses. So let's just do that down here. Aaron, and you know, just so it's kind of balanced out, do it like that. So we'll have all the like the syntax can kind of be there, and then the there's our vector query, and I know that there's I am going to look and see. I'm going to go to what is it? MDN. There we go. Except I want JavaScript. For anyone who's using Python, Justin is using Redis VL right now, which is our new vector search client, and is getting some great results with it. Yeah, I think it's just Tyler and is it just Tyler working on that, or I can't remember. But yeah, they're making a lot of progress on that. I was actually using initially with this the Redis Vector Store that ships with the LangChain. However, it didn't give me as much power or much control over the searches I wanted, so I migrated to the underlying harder stuff that we're seeing here today, which I think is an interesting exercise for a stream, for one. and I think it's docs/JavaScript, right? Yeah. So I want to search for, let's do just string MDM. There we go. That's easier. Is there a, it is empty? I don't think there is actually. This is string.prototype, fixed font color, font size, includes index of, is well formed. Replace all search, starts with some, yeah, is empty, works. What I'm doing works. So basically, if I haven't found a state to build and I'm building up this query, then just use star. That's the idea. So we can build this up with our argument. And if some of them are missing, then if no arguments were found, then it doesn't do anything. Cool. So then that means in app.js, we got to pass in params, and those params need to have things. So that means I should be able to do this. We got to count, do params, colon, and that's an object, comma. And then we're going to put state, colon, and I'm going to go with Ohio because that's where I'm at right now. And it's my favorite state of all the states because that's where I live. And let's see. I'm like, oh, God, this is going to fail, isn't it? Well, this should work. Okay, hold on to your butt. Let's go. Okay, so all of them are Ohio. That just up and worked, didn't it? It looks like we might not have any Ohio that we were looking for near body water at night in Ohio. 4th of July, 1984. They're 17, junior, senior high school. Beverly, Ohio. I guess the fireworks would happen at night, wouldn't they? Where the banks on either side were, it might have picked up on the word banks there. So that's at night, early evening. Group finds possible Bigfoot track in Wayne National Forest. So is this one at night? That one's not at night. So the ones that aren't either covered, it did involve, it did mention the day at least. Yeah. So the last two don't involve the night. None of them had a body of water in them. But yeah, so that filtering is working. We could filter on all the things. This is going swimmingly. So what else do we want to search on? I think county would also be worthwhile. So we could add in here, if params. It's like it knew what I wanted to do. I'm going to do this just so that we get nice spaces after each one, and we'll get a stray space at the end, but that shouldn't matter. Well, let's try it again. It's like it was listening to me. Okay, so this still works. Still got me in Ohio. Washington County, Ohio. Seems to be several of them here. Let's go ahead and let's try a county. Let's do state is Ohio. County is Athens. I think, is it Athens County that Athens is in? We can try Minton. There's all the great counties down in southeastern Ohio. Here we go. I didn't find any. There aren't any for Athens County. Let's try Vinton County. Oh, I mean, now I have 180 loaded, so what are the odds, right? But the fact that it's not returning anything is actually validation that we're also doing the correct thing. Let's go with Ashland County. That's where I grew up. the national county. It's really, admittedly, not that rural. Let's go with Hocking. Hocking County. No. Well, let's type in Washington and just see that we do indeed get results back. And we do. So it is filtering on Washington County. It is filtering on county. So this is working fairly well. It does mean it's kind of a manual process, and you could pass in things that are incorrect. But if we look at our index here, we've got county, state, classification. We should totally do classification. And then, yeah, let's do classification. I kind of don't want to do lat long because it's a little tedious. Because you'd have to pass in a latitude and longitude, which wouldn't be hard in the JSON, but passing in that latitude and longitude, and then on stream finding a latitude and longitude where a Bigfoot sighting would be near means I'd have to go online and look for a place, and then one of the 180 would, and it just seems kind of tedious. So I'm going to skip it for now. But classification is definitely one that we want to have in here. Like I want to find Class A Bigfoot sightings versus Class B versus Class C. And so we'll say classification. See if it figures it out. It did. It's so smart. Yeah, and we'll just go ahead and do another search really quick and say, see, we got. Let's filter this by classification on Class A. For context, a Class A Bigfoot sighting means I saw Bigfoot. It's an eyewitness. I saw Bigfoot, or maybe, no, you saw him. I guess smelled him might count too. Many of the accounts of Bigfoot sightings involve a horrible stench, which I think gets conflated with the accounts of skunk apes in Texas. But Class A is direct evidence. I saw it. Class B is evidence like footprints or noises or something like that, but not direct sight. And Class C is someone told me they saw Bigfoot, which is my favorite. There's not very many of those in the data set, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on point of view. So if we go for Ohio Class A, let's get rid of Washington County. Yes, I said Washington on purpose because we're talking about Bigfoot in the backwoods. And it seems like the right way to do it. So these are all, did it not? I found Class A and Class B. That's not what we should be getting. Do I have a typo? I might have a typo. Yes, I do. This is the risk of this. If you spell classification correctly with 2 S's, it will work. Very nice. Very nice. So we can add bunches of these. You get the general idea. One of the things I would like to add at some point, and I'll probably do this off camera, is we'll add lat long. Should I do that? Maybe that would be a good one to do. But I don't have any numeric fields in here either, and I think it would be nice to add like some numeric fields. So like we could find Bigfoot sightings based on like the temperature, which I think could be a lot of fun. That's right, Ayrton. I need to spell better. Do I have it? Do I have that typo anywhere else? I don't think I do. It was just in my command line. So yeah. So do we want to add a couple more indices? I think lat long would be interesting, just so you can see how it works. We could pick some coordinates and then say, show me all the Bigfoot sightings that are in 100 miles of this, and then match these criteria. And then we could do like a temperature one, maybe. The data itself supports that. So if we look at one of the examples, we've got like high temperature. And so we could say, well, on a hot day, right, where the temperature is above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's do both of those. Let's do lat long and high temp. And so to do high temp, I need to go in here and add a extra called high temp. and it figured out that that is numeric. So high temperature, numeric. Now I'm going to have to connect to Redis and delete my existing index because this is not smart enough to know that it's been changed, which is fine. It's something that we could standard refine at some point, but we'll do ft.drop index. Let's do ft._list. That way I don't have to type this out. And then we do ft.drop index. ft.drop index. This is a little small, so I'm going to embiggen it. There we go. It's probably a little bit easier to read. And then you give it the index name. That will delete the index. And then when the code runs the next time, it will see that the index isn't there and we'll recreate it. So that's the idea. There is an ft drop command. Don't use it. You'll be very sad because what the ft drop command does is it drops the index and all the tables. And I don't think that's been removed. I think that's still in there. But don't use that one. There's also a DD flag that you can use on ft drop index to drop the documents as well as the indices or the index. And sometimes you do want to do that. So there is a scenario where that makes sense. But so Justin wants to find out if there were any Bigfoot frolicking in or within 5 miles of the Kalahari Water Park in Sandusky, Ohio in January of 2024, because he wants to know if he's been mistakenly identified as a Bigfoot, right? So Justin was recently at Code Mash in Sandusky, Ohio, at the beginning of the month, which is up on Lake Erie. It's a great conference. I've been to all but one of them, which was the one most recently, and Justin went there in my stead. So, what county is the Kalahari? And I think it's in Sandusky County. I think that's the name of the county, but I'd have to look. It could be something else. I'd have to look at a map. So I've added the high temperature, and we've got lat long already. So we've got a numeric and a geo. So I've destroyed the index. I'm going to go ahead and start and stop this. So it'll recreate the index, and it's done. Yeah, the free drink tickets at conference are the best part of conferences, aren't they? It's like I get the drink, and it doesn't cost me any money, and I don't have to submit an expense report. Okay, so we've got lat long, we got high temp. Let's go ahead and use those things. So we'll say no. There we go. Got high temp, and it knows that it knows that so the way the numeric queries work is you give them a start, a bottom, and a range with a bottom bound and an upper bound, and it's inclusive. And so it's thinking that the high temperature would be passed in as an array, and we want to get something between those. That's actually not a terrible approach to it. So we could actually pass that in as an array, and then have the first element be the high temperature, the lowest high temperature we want to find, and the second element being the highest high temperature to define a range. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to go with what the AI suggested, because I think that's not a bad plan. So let's leave that in place, and then we'll say if params lat. Excuse me. I called this lat long, all one word. And then it's doing a similar thing. I do not want to do that. I want to say params lat long dot longitude. An array is not a terrible option there either, actually. However, it did do it backwards. Well, let's stick with the array for this too. I think that's okay. Because you need to provide the longitude first, and then the latitude. We need to flip these. So in our API, we're going to say latitude and then longitude. But Redis Search, when you're saying the latitude and longitude, you provide it the longitude, provide it the latitude, then you provide it a radius, which I think is going to be params. Params dot lat long dot radius. And I'm just going to go ahead and assert that we're going to use miles for that, because this is Bigfoot sightings and those happen in America. And so the fact that I think I don't want to call this lat long. I think I want to call this what would be coordinates? Point. Call it a point. I want to find the Bigfoot sightings at a point, and the parameter is called lat long, and that point is going to have a longitude. I just have to type it out because I want to make my life hard. And that point is going to have a lat. I'm going to do Latin long because I don't feel like remembering how to spell things. We'll go lat long. Oh no, I don't speak miles. A kilometer is 0.621 miles. So a kilometer is roughly 2/3 of a mile. So, which means, I guess that means a mile is about 1.5 kilometers. So there you go. Just add 50%. Easy peasy. So there's the latitude, the longitude, the latitude, and then the point and the radius. And then, I mean, we could add another parameter in here for the units. It supports miles, supports kilometers, supports meters, it supports feet. We're going to go with miles because it's one in Rome, right? There we go. I think that is quite thoroughly a bit. So, and that should just work if I go over here and do the search. So let's try it. Let's get rid of the state and the classification. And let's do high temp. Colon, and that needs to be an array between two values. So the high temperature needs to be between 75 degrees Fahrenheit and 85 degrees Fahrenheit. There's our little array. Those are our params. There we go. And we want to get 5 of these back. And we're looking for near a body of water at night. So this should look for all of them, near bodies of water. Let's get rid of the rid of the at night bit here, just so that we get cast a wider net. We'll just do at near a body of water for cast a wider net. And so that finds class A. I need to return the temperature, don't I? Because right now, yeah, so we got title, observe, county, state. Let's return the latitude, the longitude, and the high temp. Go. We'll try that again. So we can see that it actually worked. So 75, 82.3, 83.1, 80.3. So yeah, that's between those. It's between those values. And we even got a 75, which means we're exactly at that value. So hello. So that's working. Let's go ahead and say, let's get rid of that, and we'll do the point at which this happens, and that's going to be another object, and we need to provide a lat, a long, and a did I say radius? Is that what I called it? Up here, yeah, radius. So let's find an interesting place on a map. Get ourselves a latitude and a longitude, and then we'll go like with a 100-mile radius. I think that would be a 200-mile radius. That should, and we just keep increasing the radius until we get something. So I'm going to bring up maps.google.com. There we go, where I live. Let's see here, and let's find things. Let's go where it's sure to be the most Bigfoot sightings in the world occur in one place, and that place is the Pacific Northwest. So I'm going to say, let's find. Let's see, where would be a good place to look? Oh, there's a Mount Vernon. Let's pick right near Mount Vernon. Maybe there'll be something near there. Near Big Lake. I like big lakes, and I cannot lie. So copy that into here. We've got that in there. Did I not copy it? Yeah, let's copy to the clipboard. So down here. Oh, no. Come on. Oh, and V, not Control V. Using Windows all weekend. So there's the latitude. And there's the longitude. Is that in the Olympics, Justin? Well, if you wear the orange camo, I believe Bigfoot can't see red, so it kind of works. Is Bigfoot trichromatic or monochromatic or dichromatic? Trichromatic like a human, or monochromatic or dichromatic like most mammals. So we'll go with 6 digits of precision. That should be plenty. I'll round that up just because I can't help myself. And I'm just yeah, that should just totally work. That should just work. There's latitude, there's longitude. There needs to be a comma, and then the radius is going to be 200. So I figured within 200 miles of the Cascades, we should probably find a Bigfoot sighting. That seems likely, right? Let's see what we get. Nothing. No way. There are only 180 of them in here. Well, let's widen the circle a little bit. Let's see if there's anything within 500 miles there. We found stuff within 500 miles. Let's go. I want to see. No. We'll go about 350. No. Yeah, the ones that found were in Montana. So it did find some. I mean, it is finding them. These are all. I found 2 in Montana, which is in a 500-mile radius from Big Lake. That sounds about right. Yep. But yeah, if I didn't find any, try search around the town of Quilcene, maybe. Yeah, I don't think based on this, I don't have any loaded that happened in Washington State. So it just means I haven't loaded it yet. I know that there are plenty in Washington State. If we look at the data, that they're certainly in there. So if I look for a state here, state on Wash, right? I've got 535 of them in the data file, so we certainly have them. So they just aren't all loaded yet, is all. And it's because the embeddings are kind of slow on my laptop. So, but I'd say that this is working. It's just, there just isn't much up there. And we could confirm that very easily, couldn't we? Because we can sit there and say, give me all the Bigfoot sightings instead of doing this radius thing, where the state is Washington. I searched through the file manually when I could have just done it here, right? Washington. Yeah, so there aren't any in Washington in my data set in Redis yet. So that's why we didn't find any. But we found them in Montana, which seems like a reasonable place. We got 2 in Montana here. Hiker spouts a Bigfoot on the mountains east of Butte, and 2 separate sets of large footprints found in Silverbow, Montana. So cool. I think we're at a spot where I want to commit some code because I've done enough stuff here. So we'll do git add dot git commit dash m parama filtered search. Vector search is working for a few params. Yeah. Git push. And then we can filter out a whole bunch of those and write a really bunch of repetitive redundant code. And yeah, Justin, Bigfoot keeps a really low profile up there. So it'd be hard to keep a low profile being that tall, but, you know, it is what it is, right? Cool. Okay. So we got that committed. So there's one last thing I want to do. And I think looking at the time, it's 3:21 here in Ohio. And we're streaming until 4. We'll see how far we get into streaming. But that's the next thing I want to add. Let me mark the other things off my little list here on paper here. Add more search options. I've gotten further than I thought I was going to, honestly. And then we're going to add some add streaming here. So when we add things to this, instead of just adding them and waiting with the loader, this endpoint here, this save, all this code here can be moved into another file, which would be a consumer. And then all this would have to do is dump these into an event stream. So let's do that. I think that'll be kind of interesting. So, and I'm going to do the simple bit first, which is, well, I'm going to do 2 things. One, I am going to go ahead and dump the values that I have in there immediately. So the basic information, the key name and the citing there is fine. These can be set just fine. That's not a problem. And then we'll just do the embedding and the summary after the fact. And so we'll go ahead and add these to the hash, just like we're doing here. So lines 20 and 21 stay the same. And then if there is observed text, well, that's still there, then we can drop the document on a stream and deal with it later. So let's do that. So I'm going to comment out these lines just for now, because I know they're going to move and I don't want to lose that code. And what we can do instead is say, we can say Redis. That's not how you spell Redis. Redis dot xadd Bigfoot sighting. I don't want to call this a stream. It's reported. And then we so xadd takes a stream name. It takes an ID, which is just a unique ID for when it occurred. We're just going to use star because it's just going to use a timestamp. And then it's got a key value pair sightings. So it's got citing ID. I don't want to do that. I want to pass in the entire JSON document. So I'm going to do JSON.stringify the citing and put it in there, and then we can parse it back out. It might be worthwhile to pare that down a little bit. Because we don't need to add the entire document. We need the ID and we need the observed field. And that's actually all we need. Everything else has been written to Redis already. So let's pare that down. So we'll call this the, it's a citing, but it's like a reduced or we've reduced the amount of things in it. So I'm looking, trimmed, skinnified, called a skinny citing. Is going to be equal to, and then is there a tidy way to do this? I'm going to try and do this, but is there I mean, I know I can destructure to get the ID and the observed out. But I thought there might be a way to like some clever functional JavaScript way to then create my skinny citing without having to do this. Like some sort of pluck mechanism. I know Lodash has it. Yeah, this will do for now. And then we'll stringify the skinny sighting. Well, and at that point, do we even need to stringify? I mean, we can just do, yeah. This is the way to do it. Observed, and then ID, ID. And then we just have 2 fields on it, and that's that. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mephilich. Yeah, just, for the background and process it. And, I mean, I'm going to be doing this in the same process that I'm running the server in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another file, and it's going to kick off, and it's just going to listen using a consumer group and consume those messages as they come in. But what you would probably do in a more realistic scenario is you'd have one Docker image that is running this, and then another Docker image that's built. That's job is to consume these and do the embedding and write them out to Redis. And then you could scale those up horizontally by creating more containers and do it in parallel. And the consumer group would make that possible. So I'm going to write it using consumer groups. But because I'm running unlimited resources on my MacBook, to do what I described, I would have at a minimum 2 Docker containers, and they would both have to have the summarization model in them. Actually, would they? No, they wouldn't. Only one would. They both need the embedding model, but only one would need the summarization model. I might be able to get away with doing that, actually. So, but my thought is that I'm a little resource constrained, and so having multiple copies of the models instantiated consumes a lot of memory. But the summarization model is the one that's heavy. The embedding model is actually fairly lightweight, and so I could offload the summarization and just not have the summarization model in this piece here, and only have the embedding model. And so I think, and then I'd have the embedding model twice, but it's fairly lightweight and easy. It works very quickly, so I think that'd be okay. But yeah, so but for here, I'm not going to actually serialize. I'm not going to use JSON at all. I would just pass in the ID and pass in the observed if we have one. If there's not an observed, there's nothing to do besides just setting the Redis values. And so, yeah. Well, this code is done. That was easier. This is, I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Everything's been pretty easy on the stream so far. Everything's kind of just working the way I would like it to. I'm just waiting. It's just the ending is going to be a thing that I shall not utter on the stream, but it ends in show. Okay. So, yeah, I think that's all we need there. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and run my little program and see what happens, because this should just fill up a stream with all the information, and should fill up Redis as well. So if I run the original, come on, it's in here somewhere. There we go. And 8999 was where I was last at. Now I'll probably 8999er. Yeah, I know, scary moment, Mephilich, scary moment. But what's going to happen here is it's just going to fill up the stream, right? And then I can delete the stream before I do this again. But it will also fill up all of the searches. So I could do more. I could write mundane search that use embedded search if I wanted, or semantic search if I wanted. But if I start here, it should skip everything. And then here we go. It says it's posted it, and it is just tearing through the data. It's, yeah. Let's just let it finish. I'm not entirely happy with the message there. And I should probably do that. Added citing to backlog. for summarization. So 4,586 of them. And yeah, and then this is taking a little over 2 milliseconds, way faster. Let's take a look in Redis Search or Redis Insight. And if we yeah, we got 4,587 fields in here. 4,586 of them are Bigfoot sightings, and one of them is a stream. So if I sift this by streams, there is our stream. And there is something totally incorrect. So I did something wrong here. I think what I did wrong is I flipped the parameters. So and this is why we test kids, boys and girls. Flush or no. Unlink Bigfoot sighting DHTING reported. Refresh that, then we'll see that we don't have any in there. Okay. And then so xadd takes, I think it's actually this. But I'm not positive. And so I am going to find out to be sure. And so I'm going to go out to node Redis. And I'm just going to go look and see what it does. So let's go to, we got some examples, but I would rather just go, I'm just going to go look at the tests. So we got packages, client, lib, and then we've got client. Am I in the right spot? No, I'm not. Hang on. It is, but it is in here somewhere. I thought it was under client. Lib commands. It's under commands. Duh. And then I'll just look for all the way down at the bottom. Xadd. Xadd, not Xass. So we'll look at the xadd spec. And then this is just validating that the arguments are transformed in the way we think. And so, so you pass in this, a field and a value like that. So you actually pass in an argument. That is much, much better in my opinion. So let's do that. Because then we do ID and observed, and then that will just work. There we go. Let's try that again. $8,999 again. Why not? There it goes. Boogity, 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 boogity. And we should be able to go out there and look in our stream. Click on it. And there we go. We got an ID and observed. And I don't know that there's any, I think these values are just strings. And I don't think there's anything beyond the string limits, which I think is 512 megabytes or something like that. So we're not going to run into any that we can't handle. So cool, cool, cool. And they're now all in there. Excellent. So I guess next we need another program. So I'll end up Dockerizing this eventually. So the API will have a Docker container. I'm not going to create a Docker container for the loader. I don't think that's necessary. Yeah, there's stuff in the examples folder too. There, Methylich. I tend to, but there's not always examples for all the scenarios. And so I tend to just go right into the tests and look, because that covers all the scenarios for sure. Whereas if we go and look in like the examples here, then this is several examples that Simon wrote over the years. And actually, there was a stream producer here, so that would have been easy enough. But I just have gotten into the habit of looking at the tests themselves, and they provide a nice, easy way to do it. So, yep, exactly. Cool. It's just my habit. Why read the documentation when you can use the source, Luke? Okay, so next step, let's create a new folder. I feel like I should commit, but I don't want to commit this commented out code. And I know that I'm going to need to pull like the summarization model is now not being used. Like the summarize function here isn't being used, and the try to summarize. This is all code that needs to move to the new thing. So I'm going to create the new thing and then move the code. So let's create a new folder, and we'll call this, what do we want to call this? The embedder. Oh, it shows number of records and total size of the key and insight. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yeah, it's 10 megs. I was more concerned about are we going to hand it a citing that's too long to fit into here? So am I going to give it a citing in the observed that's too big? And I'm like, no, the upper limit there is probably 512 megs. And the biggest citing that we had when I did the token, if we look at the tokenizing, which is being commented out, oh no, it's still there. The largest token, 719 or 709. So that means 709. A little under 6,000 tokens, or roughly speaking words, not strictly speaking words, but roughly. So yeah, we're never going to hit that limit in a long while. So, so we've got an embedder. So change directory embedder, and this is going to be em init. And then we can go into here. And this is an embedder version 1.1.1.0.0. Let's see what we want to scarf from here. I want to make the type to be name version. Type is module, so I can use imports. And then do this. There we go. Side by side. Description. Sample application for semantic search using Redis, LangChain, and free models. This bit this is a you know what? I don't care about a description. We know what it is. TBD. That's the description. We don't have a main. We don't care. It doesn't matter. I do want to copy this. We'll use NodeMon with this as well. I am the author. We'll go with the MIT license again, which basically says, hey, this is code. Be careful. Private. It's true, so that I don't accidentally push it up somewhere. And now I need to install some packages. So we need to do npm install Redis. Save Redis. We'll go ahead and do .env. We don't need Express. We do need LangChain. We do need Node Llama CPP. And I think that's everything. So we'll install those. And then we'll have to do the rebuild of Node Llama CPP to not use Metal, because my Mac doesn't support Metal because it's an older Intel Mac, which is why I'm CPU bound. So once these are in there, and that little snippet of magic is in here, and also need to install NodeDaemon. And so this, but once this is installed, next we'll do this little command right here. It's downloading a whole bunch of stuff, whole mess of stuff. What I'm curious to see if the version numbers of any of these things have changed. LangChain has. Node Llama CPP hasn't. Redis hasn't. .env changed. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and run this anyhow, because that hasn't changed. So we just, it's called CMake behind the scenes to do things. Yes, there's warnings. Doesn't seem to matter. Okay. So wait for this to change. And then I'm going to bump the versions on some of these things, I think. Yeah, in my other project. I can't imagine anything super significant changed in .env though. And then we're just kind of waiting for it to build. So, how y'all doing? And we're not going to get this done in this stream, and then that's fine. While I'm waiting all this to happen, just note that I will not be streaming next week because I will be in London speaking at NDC, and so I'll be out. I won't be streaming this Friday either because I'll be packing for my trip to London and then getting on an airplane and leaving. So no stream later in the next week, but hopefully the week after that, yes. So I'd like to put the private at the bottom. I know we need LangChain community as well. So we'll do npm install LangChain community, which I missed. And that version has changed as well. Node Llama CPP is still the same. And then we'll do npm install save dev. Yaman. And I really kind of want these to be in the same order. You know what I mean? I know it doesn't really matter, but that bugs me. So, cool. I'm going to go ahead and go back up here, and I'm going to bump the versions on some of these things here so that they're the same. So let's go to, I know that if I do an upgrade, it'll just happen. And if the package JSON lock is going to have it be the same anyhow. LangChain is version 1.6. That could be risky. So change directory API. That is not how you type change directory API. We'll do an npm install just to get the latest of things. Added 2 packages, changed 3 packages, and audited 380 packages. It's excellent. Go back here and just to be sure, let's go run that. And let's go ahead and do just to see if it seems to be still working more or less. So that's good. Okay. So now we've got 2, let's change directory. We got 2 programs running here. We got an embedder. And so we're going to touch app.js and then our embedder here has an app.js, a package.json. And I'm going to do the work in that application over here. Shut down the README. And then over here, I know that we need, we've got a models.js, and now we only need the embeddings. We don't need this thing here. So I'm going to do some copy pasta around with the code here. Let's put the models over here as well. So that's there. And over here we have models as well. And this one doesn't need the Hugging Face transformers, but it does need Llama CPP. It has a summarization model, and that needs to be fetchable. This one now has a embedding model and doesn't need a summarization model, so we can get rid of that, and that. Code, it feels great. And then over here in embed.js, well, let's go ahead. I'm just going to copy some of these functions over that I know we don't need over here. So we don't need summarize and try to summarize. We do need embed, but we'll need that over here too, because we're going to be summarizing and embedding, whereas here we're just embedding. And then that's our search. That's just going to stay the way it is. And then I know I want this snippet of code over there because I just know that we're going to use it. So I'm just kind of copying everything over so that I can get rid of it over here. Not the most engaging content. Apologies. Okay, that to-do is done. We don't need the templates anymore. And we don't need that. And we don't need to fetch the summarization model anymore. So we've got the model, there's Redis. When you call save, sets basic information Redis. If there's observed text, it goes ahead and dumps it into a stream. Dump the text into the summarization queue. And log that you did. And then on search, we're just building a search query and we're calling it. And then embed. Why am I calling embed query up here and not? Why don't I just call embed? Why did I duplicate this code? I don't know why I did that. But this is clearly the same. So we got embedding equals await fetch embedding model to embed query text, or is embed query. And then we're doing the same buffer conversion, and here we're just returning it. So, you know, let's just do this. I'm okay with this being inlined. I think that's perfectly tidy. I mean, it's a little bit of a long function, but it'll work. Okay, so then that means that then embed.js does that. We got the models. Redis is going to do what Redis does. This is all fine. When this thing spins up, it can create the index. That's perfectly fine. App.js, just pass it along. We got our little config.js. Yeah, so that looks good. Go ahead and change directory into our API. Git add dot git status git commit -m added removed summarization and creation of embedding. Now we haven't got our embedder in there yet, and that's fine. The other thing we actually don't need here anymore is we need a place for our models. We just have one model, but this model doesn't need to be over here anymore because we're not doing the summarization in the API. We're doing it over here. So I'm just going to drag it over to the new project. And then we're going to drag the git keep file here. And we're just going to delete this folder because we don't need it anymore. Move to trash. So now we have Mistral and git keep. And this should be all the stuff in here. There's app, there's models. This works the way it did before. And then over here in app.js. Yeah. Okay. So I think let's close all our windows because I've kind of made a mess of things. Here's our app.js, close others. There we go. And here's our models.js. And this should be the bulk of what we need here. And then package.json will run app.js when we run it. Okay, cool. So I've got all my code over here. There's where we create the model. That's the templates. So let's summarize and embed. So let's summarize and embed. Those are just functions. I think those are fine. And then we save the summary. So this is this needs to be a function, async function, save embedding. I guess we'll call that. That's not a great name, but that's going to be what's in here. And we'll have, we need to have the, this is going to have the ID and the text. And then we had some code over here where we were creating our key. We need to steal that. So this will build our key. This will create our summarization and our embedding. The summary, there's our embedding. And then we save it to Redis. This is all the code that we had before. So that calls summarize, and that calls try to summarize, and that calls embed. Okay. That means I need the embedding model as well over here. Do I have both the models over here? I do not. So let's copy those over too. We need the embedding model. There we go. And is that in alphabetical order? LangChain community, LLMs, embedding. So that comes first. Those are our two models. This means that I'm missing a package, because over here in package.json we had the Novia transformers, so I need to add that. npm install -save the Novia transformers. There's a Nova, sorry. And make sure we have that. And so now this little embedder project that we've been working on has another package. How are the versions on that? 2.14, 2.14. Okay, the versions haven't changed. And then there's close. So now we've got both of the models in here in the app.js. It doesn't do anything yet, but we've got some, our instructions to our summarizer. We have a function called save embedding, which takes an ID and text. It will use that ID to build a key to Redis. It will use the summarize function to create a summary of that text. It will then embed that summary using the embed function, and then it will save both of those out to Redis. And I think I could probably do this with the one hset command. I don't really need to do two here. So let's do that. Go back to here and look at commands, set. Go through here. hset spec. So there's key, field value. You can pass in a map. You can pass in an array. You can pass in an object. Is there examples of this doing multiple? I think that's probably correct. So let's go here. Can I do a mixed one where one of them is a buffer and one of them isn't? Probably. I think that'll probably work. We're going to find out. So we're going to pass on that. I'm going to say summary and embedding, embedding bytes. And let's wait that. And so this should be all the plumbing that I need to actually then start doing the stream processing. Oh wait, there's a bug there too. That's just the ID. So we'll build the key, summarize, get the embedding, call hset, and we'll pass in two values into that as opposed to doing two separate commands because that's to be slightly more performant. And yeah, and so I think what I can do next is we need to start reading the stream and with the consumer group and everything. And we've got 4 minutes left in the stream, so that is certainly not going to happen in 4 minutes. So I think this is a good breaking point. I've set the stage to be able to do the stream processing of these all these documents as they show up there, and so I can then kick this thing off in a more meaningful way. And the nice thing is that if I shut this down, it should be able to come back in and pick up where it left off, which I think will be super sweet. So yeah, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So let's go ahead and commit what I've got here. Get status, get get status, get add dot. It's all good. Yeah. It's commit -m extracted model or embedding to stream processor that doesn't do anything yet. Go. Git push. Get that pushed up to GitHub. So that's, I think, where I'm going to leave it for the day. It's going to be, like I said, a week and a half before we stream again. Today's Wednesday. Normally I would be streaming again on Friday, but I'll be on an airplane. And then next week I'll be in London, so nothing there. And then the week after that, I should be able to do another Wednesday and Friday stream, schedule permitting. I'll probably get this scheduled sometime next week. So, thanks for hanging out. And you are you are very welcome, sir. Gotta catch Bigfoot and all the other cryptids, right? That'd be a great collectible card game. So like Pokemon, or like not a collectible card game, although it'd be a good card game too. Instead of like Pokemon Go or like the Pokemon card game, is you do it around cryptids, and so you're out there trying to find Bigfoot and the Jersey Devil and Chupacabra and the Abominable Snowman and the Loch Ness Monster and all that kind of stuff. That would be a ton of fun. You're following a Redis tutorial right now. I hope it's a good one. Let me know how it goes. If you want to reach out to me and ask questions, we have a Discord server. I mentioned earlier in the stream, but I'm going to mention it again. You can go to our Discord server at discord.gg/Redis. And I'm on there answering questions when I've got a chance. But if you're running some of those tutorials and you run into questions, feel free to get in there and drop your question. I can't answer all the questions because A, I don't have the time because that would be a full-time job. B, I have areas of expertise that others and I have areas that I don't have expertise in, and that's true of all of us. And so I tend to answer things around JavaScript and basic Redis stuff, and I tend not to be as good at answering questions about, hey, I've got this clustering thing and blah 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 blah, and it's not working, or I'm trying to use .NET to do things, and I'm not a .NET person anymore. My .NET skills are very, probably 10 to 15 years out of date. But Steve gets on there and he answers that questions as well. So if you're on the Discord server and you run into problems, let me know. And just let me know how the tutorial is going. If you think it was awesome, then say that too. Flattery will get you everywhere. So, and again, if you want to follow along with this, then we've got a QR code for the Git repo that I've been pushing to throughout the stream. So you can pull that code down, play with this yourself, and have fun with it. So with that, I think that's pretty much it for the day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. He said dramatically and then didn't have the thing ready to click. Okay, we'll do that again. I'll see you next time.